We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order and declare a quorum of 6 members present. Dr. Ely will start with item C, receive a presentation related to the CSISD Texas Academic Performance Report for the 2016-17 school year.
Madam President, members of the board, it's our pleasure tonight to share with you and with the public a presentation related to the Texas Academic Performance Report. This will be the third time that we've seen some of our student performance data from the previous year. This is for the 2016-17 school year, so we have a lot of information. You've seen the STAR scores before, so we'll be really spending our time tonight talking about some of the other performance indicators and staff indicators for this presentation. And after this, just a reminder, we have public comments on this schedule as well. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Molly Perry, Executive Director for Special Services and Accountability, who will take us through the presentation. Molly?
Thank you, Dr. Ely. Dr. Yokin, members of the board. This evening, as Dr. Ely mentioned, we're going to be looking through some highlights of the Texas Academic Performance Report, affectionately known as the TAPER. And this is a 26-page report, and so we're really going to condense that down into some of the overall highlights. The comprehensive report, as well as some additional information, will be available on the web for full review. So this report looks heavily at STAR performance, but it also looks at demographics of students as well as staff and our programs. So as I mentioned, STAR results are a part of that. Post-secondary readiness components are another piece, looking at percentage of students involved in coherent sequences with career technology courses, advanced courses, performance in Texas higher institutions of learning once students do graduate from us, looking at graduation rates, dropout rates. Those are the kinds of components under post-secondary readiness. And then looking at our staff and student demographics, both from an ethnicity perspective, as well as the types of programs and services. And then for our staff, what types of staff do we employ in various positions? And then what does our teacher profile look like in terms of years of experience? And then finally, as I mentioned, we'll be sharing this not only tonight in the public hearing format, but also online. So with the STAR performance, I think we've covered a lot of this. Another component included is the ACT and SAT performance rates. And then looking at our staffing and program data, as well as our student data in the district profile component. The other information that's not included in that report that comes from TEA, but is compiled and included online, includes information related to our financial standards, the status of our accreditation, which, P.S., we are accredited, our campus performance objectives. Those are incorporated into each campus improvement plan, which you all approved several months ago at the beginning of the 17-18 school year. Then looking at any violent and criminal incidents that may have occurred in the prior year on our campuses, looking at information from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board about performance of students. And then a new component as part of last year's legislative session is going to be included, and that's the number of counselors at each campus. So I have one slide for you on STAR. As we mentioned, that's just one piece of the puzzle, and we did a comprehensive report on that component earlier in the semester. And just as a reminder, all of our all student level groups exceeded or met the state rates in every single subject on every single assessment from grade 3 all the way through EOC exams. And then 63% of our students met or exceeded progress, looking at year over year. And then because we do have 3 levels reported, that highest and most rigorous performance level of master's grade level, we had almost a third of our students meet that compared to the 20% rate statewide. So looking at post-secondary, in 2016 we had 768 graduates, and 93.1% of our students matriculated within 4 years. That's a little higher, about 4 percentage points exactly higher than the state rate. And if we were to expand that up to 5 years for those students who needed a little extra time, we were at 96.7, so quite good in terms of the rates. We had only 1% of our students classified as dropouts, and that does include students who were maybe going towards a GED rather than a high school diploma, so it doesn't necessarily mean those students didn't complete in some other way. Then looking at how our students do after they leave. For those students that are leaving College Station ISD and enrolling in Texas schools, they're performing very, very well. 80% did not require remediation after their first year, compared to that state rate of 55%. So I think that's an important thing to note. Looking at a little more related to post-secondary readiness, we did have of our students in this report, 28.7 completed an advanced or dual credit completion. That is a little bit lower than you might expect, but part of that is because the courses that TEA considers to be advanced are not as comprehensive as we have in our district. They have a very specific list, and so we provide above and beyond what is required in the area of advanced course. AP course completion grads, meaning graduates who took at least one AP course and successfully completed. We had 43% in that class of 2016, which is pretty similar to that state rate. But where we really excelled is the college-ready graduates. And this is looking specifically at how our students performed on either the TISA or the SAT or the ACT. So it's the percentage of those students who met the criterion on those exams. And so our students did extremely well, with 77% meeting that readiness standard. We had 36.7% of students who graduated complete a coherent sequence, meaning that not only did they take a CTE course, but they took several and they were in that same sequence. Now that number looks a little lower than the state rate, but if you look and see how many students are taking advantage of our career technology classes, we actually had 65% of students take at least one career tech course last year. So pretty phenomenal through that lens. We just don't have as many taking the coherent sequence. Advanced placement is definitely an area where our high school students shine. Across all subjects, almost 30% of students participated in at least one exam in at least one subject. That's a little higher than the state rate. Within that group of students, we have more take ELA, or English Language Arts, and math than we do science and social studies. And those students do extremely well compared to their peers, with 83.6% meeting the standard compared to a state rate of a little under 50%. Looking at our SAT and ACT performance, we had a little bit higher participation rate than what is considered to be average across the state, but we had almost 50% of those students meet the criterion score relative to 22.5% of the state level. And then you can see there are average SAT and average composite ACT scores are listed, which are both well above the state averages. So moving on to our staff and student profile. So looking back to October 2016 snapshot for purposes of this report, on that day we had 13,051 students enrolled in membership. Sometimes you'll see a little variance in those numbers because we do have some students who are enrolled but are not in attendance for other reasons. And then the rate of attendance was very, very good, with 96.7 overall for last year. So looking at our ethnicity of students, you can see we continue to be fairly stable in this particular area, with a little over half of our students reported as white, 22% Hispanic, 12.5% African American, and then you can see the other areas of students that are made up of Asian, two or more races, or American Indian. So we really haven't seen a lot of shift in this, even though we've grown quite a lot as a district over the last few years. Looking at other lenses of student demographics, you can see we have listed economically disadvantaged, as well as our English language learners at risk, special education, bilingual, gifted and talented, and then career and technical education. So one student could particularly fall in any number of these categories depending on their particular interests and or needs. And so I think it's just interesting to compare us in the blue with state to see how we rank compared to those averages across the state of Texas. And so you can see we have significantly fewer students who are economically disadvantaged or at risk. We're pretty similar in the area of special education, although we've seen pretty intense growth there recently, and we do have higher rates of identification for gifted and talented programs. So, looking at our demographics among staff last year, we employed 1,736 staff, all in all. And you can see here that that's made up a little over half of teachers. Other instructional support do make a significant component of that, including those educational aides in classrooms, professional support staff like counselors, diagnosticians, librarians, campus administration, auxiliary. That's the big quarter there, the lighter blue. That's going to include everyone from our grounds workers to transportation, kids club workers, all of those folks that help support us in non-instructional roles. And then looking at the profile of our teachers, I think this is particularly telling. We do have, excuse me, almost 30% of our teachers that hold an advanced degree, meaning a master's or a doctorate. And then that is definitely higher than the state rate. Our teachers average 13.2 years of experience, but if you look at the chart on the left, you can see how that really breaks down in the number of years. Very few of our teachers are brand new teachers. We have about 22% that have less than 5 years, but the majority of our teachers have 6 or more, and you can see even more than half of our teachers have 11 or more years of experience. And so this is certainly an area of a strength for us in terms of providing teachers that have solid experience in the classroom. Our turnover rate is 12.7 for last year, which is a smidge higher than the year before, but the state rate is at 16.4%, and so we continue to remain well below that. And finally, at csisd.org, under About Us, you can find the reports online. And with that, I would certainly entertain any questions that you might have, and then I think we'll have an opportunity for public comment.
Thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions on the board?
Yes, I just had one. Are there any thoughts on why we're below the state on the percentage taking AP? Does it have something to do with our offering of honors, maybe?
For the AP course. So looking at the course completion graduates, we were just slightly under the state rate. We were at 43%, whereas the state was, I think, 44.8. So I don't know that I could tell you offhand exactly why that might be. I know that we offer a variety of AP courses, and those courses do have a high level of rigor.
Yeah, we do have other options, and honors is a big option that a number of our kids take advantage of. Sometimes, though, we will have an AP, an on-level, and an honors version. In some courses, we have a dual credit version as well. So those obviously can have more kids take those options and fewer with the AP. So,
Any other questions from the board? Do we have anybody with public comment?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll adjourn.
thank you.
And don't go anywhere because we're just going to adjourn and start again.